how are we here? It's October 4th, and I have to hear the word Matt Patricia.
I think Aaron Glenn got hit with a guy in Pete Carroll that kind of just attacked what they like to do, man, and they were on top. They felt like they were a step ahead of everything we did. But yeah, I think Jared Goff is the comfortability. I feel like you're seeing it every week is just growing. Like some of the throws that throw to Josh Reynolds to me was a throw that I don't remember seeing him make. Like usually a window comes open, there's the ball. But to throw it like with the cornerbacks on top, I was like, what? That's Goff?
Joined by a very good friend of the show, Dose of Dion. Dion, good morning, man. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Man, it's good to be back. I appreciate the invite. The only thing, I do got to throw this out there real quick because I'm seeing you guys do the power rankings. I'm wondering where the Lions are on both the guys' list there. Why? What are we doing?
I was thinking of putting them in the top five, but I couldn't, know.
Dion, can I rank the offense and the defense separately?
Right.
Because offense would be in there, I'm telling you.
Do what you got to do, man.
Man, Dion, look, I'm going to keep it about as honest as I can with you right now.
Yeah.
You watched the game. We all watched the same game. We all watched the same team. That's a 3-1 football team. And they're not. They're 1-3. The defense has taken a huge step backwards. And after Sunday, Dion, I got to come in here and talk about a 1-3 football team that I think we all agree are better than what their record indicates. But now, Dion, we're having a conversation about, it's the talent on defense. It's the talent. They're doing what they can. I'm not seeing a talent issue. Are you?
Look, I'm not with the idea that it's just a talent issue because, we see what the offense is doing. And I get the offense is in a better spot where they have two good tackles, but, we are better defensively, I would say, on paper than we were last year. But with that said, I don't think that's the straight-up issue. If we're talking about this last game, and we're talking about all the games, but this last game when we got, destroyed, I give a lot of credit to Seattle. I think they did a lot of things schematically well. And on top of that, I think last year they put 50 on us. Now, we were missing pieces at that time, but I think Aaron Glenn got hit with a guy in Pete Carroll that kind of just attacked what they like to do, man, and they were on top. They felt like they were a step ahead of everything we did defensively.
And you heard it from the players, even Seattle's players, after the game on Sunday. They felt they knew what was going on. They were ready. Their alerts were ready. They were ready to make a change at the line of scrimmage. They did. They killed us on the 3rd and 16.
Yeah.
Dion, some of these things are just inexcusable. My question to you is, when do we have an honest conversation about coaching? And I'm not saying Aaron Glenn right now needs to be fired. I'm not saying Dan Campbell needs to be fired right now. I think it's still way too early. But when does coaching matter? When does coaching become a reason why you win these games?
Yeah, that's a great question because it's so weird to try to figure it out. You guys were talking about it, like where do you go if there's no Aaron Glenn, like things like that. So yeah, I'm not making moves now, but I think this is something that should be talked about already because, again, you look at the flip side, the one constant that Jared Goff has had since he's literally been way different is Ben Johnson. Ever since Ben Johnson took over a bigger role, he's been great offensively. And what this offense is doing is not just they're playing well, they're the best offensive football, and they're missing so many pieces. So when you flip it to the defense, I think you have to look at it the same way. Now, for me with Aaron Glenn, after this game, I think, you really start to, obviously we're going to pay our attention there, but I'm really interested to see how they adjust that because you got a guy like Bill Belichick coming up, regardless of what talent he has, he's the best schemer you could think of. So this guy's going to be on top of what you like to do. So how does Aaron Glenn break some of those tendencies to try to throw off their opponents? Because I think that's what Seattle did. They took advantage of a lot of things we like to do in certain spots. On top of that, I think they matched up well with a couple of their receivers. But I think it's something that absolutely should be talked about now. Going forward, it should be focused on because I think it's a huge X's and O's game. And right now, the Lions are doing that on offense and on defense. Like last week, they got exposed.
And talking about that defense, it starts up front. Starts with the number 2 overall pick, Aiden Hutchinson. And you've seen it through the first 4 games, like how much he's getting double-teamed, which doesn't get talked about enough. But I want to get your opinion on just his evaluation of him so far this season. He had the 3 sacks and a half against Washington. But since then, people like to come out and, the rumors start, how it is, Dion. Rumors start coming up on Twitter. Oh, Aiden's this, Aiden's that. What is your personal evaluation of Aiden so far through 4 games in his rookie year?
Yeah, I'm with you. And then, to me, that Washington game, he had the 3 sacks. I don't even know if I would say that was his best game. You look at how he got the 3 sacks. But right. I think what Hutchinson has been to me, man, his run defense has been what I thought it was going to be. And that's what I wanted in this guy, is that he could help us against the run. But you make a great point. He's going to play on that strong side all the time, so he's always getting the tight ends. And the way that Seattle went, if you're talking about last week, the way that Seattle attacked us, I've used it before. It feels like how Michigan played Georgia last year in the playoffs. Like, they did so much to take him out of the game. And when you're playing like that way, there's not much the dude can do, right? I mean, they're rolling away from him. They got the tight end on the side all the time. So, I mean, I think it could be better. I think there's been opportunities out there, but I think he's been pretty darn good to this point.
Dion, I'm struggling in one aspect of this whole conversation that we're going to have.
Okay.
Which is, I look around the league, and I'm not asking for much. And we wouldn't have talked about expectations going into the year. We looked at the schedule, the quarterback play, who you'd played against. This was one of the more winnable games going into the year. And even with all the injuries, there was still a level of confidence because of what Ben Johnson and the offense have been doing. But Dion, the conversation we're at now is this is a 1-3 team staring down the barrel of 1-4. And I'm sorry, I look at the Giants. I look at Doug Peterson and the Jaguars. For some reason, every year, there are just a few teams that, oh, hey, like, we'll click year one, we'll click year two. But I have to be patient because it is unforgivable in this town that we have an honest conversation about, hey, maybe this just isn't working. I think we all love Brad Holmes. I think we all think he's doing a great job. I think we all agree the talent is going to get there. But when does coaching, I don't know, force a punt? When does coaching, I don't know, give Philly 2 free possessions? When does coaching, I don't know, stick to their guns and go for on 4th and 4 or punt and play the time? Like, how many more times until we have that conversation, which I don't want to have. I want to see them succeed. But they're not giving me any confidence, man.
Yeah, I mean, and then I think Dan Campbell, he understands it. Like, we've heard him talk about it. Dan Campbell has been honest with it. Like, hey, I know if we're not winning games, I'm going to be run out of here. He's saying that before the season starts. Like, he knows that's the job, is to win football games. So, you know, whatever you think the rebuild phase is in, like, this was a year where it's like, man, you got to take a step, though. Like, to me, I was always like, man, we win 5 games, you're not improving. You can't win 5. You got to show me something this year, and I think there's no reason you can't, especially when the offense is doing that. So, yeah, I mean, there's coaching things to point at. The decision to take the field goal is like, what are we doing? You know, that one just felt kind of obvious. Like, why would we take a field goal there, especially after we missed it? So you point at the little things. Now, as Holmes, I think Brad Holmes done a pretty good job for the most part just in giving us the players. But, yeah, I think you got to look at the defensive side of the ball and like, dude, you got to hold your weight here. So I think that's going to get the attention. And if you think back to the beginning, right, you're hiring a defense coordinator that's never done it. And I'm cool with the hire, but that's what you did. And at the same time, you know, offensively, you got some, you know, consultants there that help out. You have that across the board. Defensively, you don't really have that. You're kind of leaning on Aaron Glenn. So the focus is going to go there. And, of course, you know, you got to win these football games because even Philly, he couldn't get off the field. You know, you had an opportunity, could not get off the field against Philly. So it was the same kind of thing. Only game, really, the defense couldn't get off the field was Washington because you were up 9 points. So the game was already over at that point. So, yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at that right now. And that's why Campbell's like, I'm going to try to get a little more involved in this defense a little bit because it's got to be way better.
And we remember the narrative with Jared Goff. Listen, he gets traded here. The fans already aren't high on him right away. Now his second season, and he's first in touchdowns in the NFL. He's top 10 in QBR, third in yards. And so far, I mean, last week with the offense they had, they rolled out there. You had Jamal, was really just TJ, Josh Reynolds, and they made plays. I mean, they had some practice squad guys, backup offensive linemen. What has been your evaluation of just Jared Goff so far, and maybe some things that you can point to why he's having success, whether it's coaching, whether it's the talent, whatever it is?
Hey, those numbers sound kind of good. I didn't know that's where they, stack. Okay, that's awesome. For me, man, I think Ben Johnson, I give him like the majority of the credit here because I think we kind of knew what Goff was, like where he was good, where he wasn't good. But I always felt like this was, Ben Johnson was the opportunity for him to take that massive step. And Ben Johnson being at his first time, he can kind of work with Goff on this. And I think he's done a great job. Again, going back to last year, like everything they do is playing to his skill set. And I even just look at the reverse. Look at Geno Smith last week, right? Look at Geno Smith so far this season and what he's been in Seattle and how they put him in the right spots versus when he was with the Jets. And like the dude never had success there. And Seattle's not like, the most talented team. They got some, but yeah, I give a majority of the credit to Ben Johnson. But yeah, I think Jared Goff is the comfortability. I feel like you're seeing it every week is just growing. Like some of the throws that throw to Josh Reynolds to me was a throw that I don't remember seeing him make. Like usually a window comes open, there's the ball. But to throw it like with the cornerbacks on top, I was like, what? That's Goff? So those type of things, the way, he's like extending plays. And He's not just extending plays to just run around and throw it away. Like he's extending towards where he knows the ball's got to go. Like the one to Kennedy was giant. So I mean, look, I think he's playing really well, and this I thought he'd be the guy going forward for us, and it's to me it's trending that direction.
Yeah, no doubt.
The concern, the final concern is, can Aaron Glenn turn it around, right? We were talking about this last year. Man, how they hold this opponent under 20 points. They did it multiple times. Lamar, whoever else it was throughout the season, you saw the defense kind of outplay themselves. And now we're seeing them underperform, underdeliver. And look, the reality is Dan Orlovsky came out with a video. I don't know if you saw it yet, Dion, but essentially comparing this Lions defense from Sunday to Matt Patricia's. I mean, how are we here? It's October 4th, and I have to hear the word Matt Patricia?
Ooh.
God, help me.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I'm actually glad I didn't see that video. That's tough. I
Don't go on Twitter.
Yeah, I will not go on Twitter. Look, I think it's going to be the emphasis. A couple things, like first thing, this game specifically, this last game, I thought, having DK and Lockie gave us issues, and I think you saw Glenn seem to kind of try to scheme around, like, how can we slow these dudes down? They still doubled them at times, and they did their soft coverage against it. And again, I think what Seattle did was they took every pre-snap look the Lions were doing, and they attacked that. I mean, the third downs where we put two guys, up basically in the A gap, like, that's not new. We've done that since Aaron Glenn walked in the building. And they just were like, hey, dude, you're lined up there. We're just going to hand the ball off, especially when they get a free look at it and come back and see the same thing. It's like, okay, that's probably not ideal to run the same thing. So I don't know how to say. I guess I think it was a tough matchup in places, but I do think one big thing that I'm curious to look out for, and I'm sure you guys are as well, is Jerry Jacobs coming back. Because I think Jerry coming back could make this defense, in a way, maybe figure out how they want to do things more specifically, because I think when you have Ermanni, who's not the stickiest man corner, and you're trying to play man, sometimes you see that gets exposed. And then there's times where he's not trusting them really on an island, so they're off like 8 yards if they're in man coverage, or they have to have help over top. I get this game matchup-wise, it was tough, but I look at that because I think a lot of teams, when you get to like their two, sometimes they're these more shiftier receivers. Last year we played Adam Thielen. Jacobs did awesome against him. So I look at that and say that may be something, if Jacobs comes back healthy, that could shift this defense a lot. I think if he was healthy with Okudah, and then you can play the matchups a little bit more, because right now they don't seem to be looking at like, hey, well, maybe we put Will in there. They don't seem like to think that's an improvement. So they're kind of just going off of, okay, here's what these two guys are, and we'll play through that. Because I mean, I look at the front. I don't think the defensive line's been bad. I actually think they've been fine, specifically against the run in this game. But then you're having, the creative plays outside, or you're doing all these play action things, and got a lot of movement going on, and guys are lost at times, or they're just a little bit slow. But I think the Jerry Jacobs get back, if he comes back healthy, could change a lot of this defense.
Fair enough, Dion. Appreciate you as always. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We'll talk soon, man. Got to have you on more often.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
well
I
done.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it,
I
Dion.
appreciate you guys. Good to see you this morning.